We were walking out of that corporate party like the golden couple. People were still waving goodbye to us, calling out things like, "Power duo," and "You two are made for each other." We played along, smiled, waved, laughed like we owned the night. Her hand in mine felt warm, tight, familiar. She leaned in to kiss my jaw, and I remember thinking, this woman, she still chooses me after all these years. We got into the car, and she kicked her heels off immediately, complaining that her toes were killing her, then pulled her hair loose from the bun. That smell of her perfume, sweet, with something sharp underneath, filled the car. She turned the music up. She looked at me like I was hers. Then my phone buzzed. It wasn't a normal message. It didn't feel like one. You ever get a text that doesn't even make a sound, but your spine knows before your eyes do? That was it. I looked down and saw an unknown number. The preview just said, "You don't know me." I opened it. "You don't know me, but I know your wife. Check the gym bag in the back of your closet. There's another phone. It'll explain itself." I froze. Not in that cinematic way where time slows down. No, everything got sharper. The sound of her nail tapping against the center console. The wet sound of her chewing the gum she got from the valet. The leather of the seat creaking as she turned to adjust herself. I stared at the message, then looked at her. She caught me looking, grinned like a teenager and said, "What's that face? Don't tell me someone sent you a sexy text." She laughed. Full laugh. Like it was the funniest thing she'd ever said. I laughed too, but it sounded wrong coming out of me. "No, just spam," I said. Then I slipped the phone into my jacket pocket. My brain was screaming, but my mouth smiled. My hand stayed in hers. We got home. She went straight to the kitchen, talking about how she wanted leftover cheesecake. I told her I needed the bathroom, walked down the hall, locked the door, and leaned against it, rereading the message. My hands were sweating. I couldn't think clearly. Part of me wanted to believe it was a prank. A cruel joke. Someone jealous, maybe. But I knew the bag. The gym bag. She started going to this new gym 6 months ago. One of those boutique fitness places where they hand you a eucalyptus towel after your workout. She'd been obsessed. Early morning classes. Evening stretch sessions. The kind of obsession that looks healthy on the surface but smells wrong underneath. I waited until she started the shower. Then I went to the closet. There it was. Her usual gym bag, black, zippered, stylish. The kind of bag that doesn't look like it belongs to someone trying to hide anything. But I dug through it. Deodorant, towel, resistance bands, socks, makeup wipes, and under the bottom flap, tucked deep in the lining, was a second phone. No case. Just plain matte black. Dead silent. I turned it on. And that's when everything stopped pretending to be okay. Messages. Hundreds. Names I didn't recognize. Conversations that didn't belong in my marriage. Photos. Dates. Hotel addresses. Voice notes where she giggled, whispered things. Promises. Lies. And the kicker? One message, just sent, only a few hours ago. Tonight was risky. He was right there. But that made it hotter. You're the only one I think about now. He's just noise. I stood there, holding a stranger's phone that somehow belonged to my wife. The shower was still running. And I started hearing every laugh, every compliment, every night she came home late. All in reverse. Replayed but differently now. There was no decision to be made. My legs were already moving. I didn't even feel my feet touch the floor as I walked to the bathroom door. I knocked. Calm voice. "Hey, can I come in?" The water stopped. Silence. Then her voice, a little confused, a little cautious. Yeah? Gimme a sec." 10 seconds passed. The door cracked open. Her face peeked out, half covered in steam and towel. "What's up?" she asked. I held up the phone. Her face went white. Not pale white. No words. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. Then she reached for it. I pulled it back. And I said, "Start talking." She stared at me like I just pulled a knife on her. And then she laughed. Quiet. Low. like she couldn't believe I'd actually found it. "You weren't supposed to see that," she said. "Not I can explain. Not it's not what you think. Not even a lie. Just that." And I swear something behind her eyes shifted. Something that had been there all along, hiding. Something that told me the woman I married had been gone for a while. She stepped fully out of the bathroom, towel clutched around her, wet hair dripping down her shoulders. The way she looked at me. No panic, no shame, just cold calculation. It wasn't the face of someone caught. It was the face of someone who was already prepared. I held the second phone tighter in my hand. "You weren't supposed to see that?" I repeated, my voice low, unfamiliar even to me. "That's what you're going with?" She crossed her arms. "I mean, what do you want me to say? Try the truth. For once." A pause. Then she exhaled through her nose like I was the one exhausting her. "Okay, fine. You want the truth?" she said, tilting her head slightly. "Yeah, I've been seeing someone. A couple of someones. Started, I don't know, last spring." I blinked. "You don't know?" She shrugged. "It wasn't planned. It just happened. You know how routines get boring. Same mornings, same dinners, same everything. And one of them, he noticed me. Made me feel like a person again. Not just someone's wife or some background character in your life." I was gripping the edge of the dresser now, trying to ground myself. My ears were ringing. She went on. "I didn't plan on keeping the second phone forever. It was just easier. Cleaner. You weren't supposed to find it. I was gonna end it eventually." My mind couldn't process the arrogance, the entitlement in her tone. Like this was some mild inconvenience for her. Like I was overreacting to a misplaced grocery list. "So there's more than one?" I said slowly. She rolled her eyes. "You're acting like I committed a crime." "You didn't commit one," I said. "You built a double life. With gym towels and burner phones and hotel rooms while I was sitting at home thinking you were tired from yoga." She laughed at that, and it broke something inside me. "Yoga? God, you really bought that, huh? That's rich." I didn't move. I just stared at her. At the woman who had, minutes ago, kissed my cheek like everything was perfect. I couldn't reconcile it. My brain refused to accept that this was the same person. This was someone else, someone who had been living in my house, eating my food, sharing my bed, and looking me in the eye while spinning entire lives behind my back. "How long?" I asked. My voice cracked. I hated it. She turned and walked toward the kitchen, casually grabbing a glass of water like we were discussing paint samples, not the funeral of a marriage. She spoke over her shoulder. "I don't know. Depends on who you're asking about. The guy from Pilates? Like 5 months. The coworker? Almost a year, give or take. The other one's more recent, just fun. That's not even serious." I followed her, phone still in hand. "And me? What was I?" She turned, glass in hand, and looked at me. Really looked. Then shrugged. "You were comfort. You were safe. You were the life I didn't want to give up but wasn't enough anymore." That sentence. That exact ****ing sentence. It didn't just slice, it carved out a part of me I didn't know could be taken. "You don't even feel sorry," I said. "Why would I?" she said, her eyes hard now. "You think I'm the only one in the world who gets bored? Who wants more? You think I owe you something because we signed a paper and posed for pictures?" I could feel my heartbeat in my mouth. "You owe me the truth," I said. "No," she said. "I owed you peace. And for a while, I gave you that. I kept things separate. Clean. I didn't throw it in your face." She sipped her water. "You're throwing it now," I said. She nodded once, slowly. "Yeah, I guess I am." We stood there in silence for a few seconds. And then she said something that will never leave me. "You weren't supposed to matter this much in the end. You were just supposed to be there." And right then, I realized something. She didn't just cheat. She erased me. I didn't sleep that night. She went to bed like nothing happened. No crying. No begging. No explanations that sounded even remotely human. She just drank her water, changed into her pajamas, and slid under the covers. She didn't even bother to close the second phone, just left it on the kitchen counter like some cursed relic, humming softly with new notifications. I stood in the living room for hours. Didn't sit. Didn't move much. Just stared. At the walls. At the pictures of us. One in particular, our anniversary in Charleston. She was leaning into me, laughing, her head thrown back. My arms around her waist like I thought I could keep her. I remember that day. I remember thinking I'd finally gotten things right. Job was stable. We had savings. We had Sunday brunches and inside jokes and weekend plans with friends. I thought she was happy. Turns out I was the only one trying. The sun started to rise, pouring soft gold into the room. I wasn't ready, but I moved anyway, quietly, deliberately. I picked up the second phone again and opened it, this time without hesitation. The messages were still there. I read through them all. Each thread like a hammer to the ribs. There was the coworker, Chad, the one she'd been with for almost a year. Their chats were disgusting in the most casual, heartless way. She called me the roommate to him. Sometimes the fossil. He sent her playlists. She sent him pictures, some of them just of the food I cooked for her, captioned, "He made this like a good little husband." Then there was Noah, the gym guy. She told him she liked how he made her feel reckless. She said being with him reminded her she still had options. That she could still be chosen, not just tolerated. She even joked once, maybe I'll fake a breakup just to see how fast he offers me his place. But the worst was someone saved as Jay. That one was different. Less jokes. Less cheap thrill. With Jay, she talked about the future. Places she wanted to move. Things she'd do if she ever got out. She said she felt seen with him. She told him she'd never loved anyone the way she loved him. And that one? That thread ended with her saying, "Just last night, I think I'm almost ready. Just need to figure out the cleanest way to leave." She was planning to leave me. Not soon, strategically. Coldly. Calculated down to the exit strategy. Not because she fell in love, but because she wanted the transition to be smooth. Seamless. No mess. Just poof. Gone. I put the phone down, grabbed my keys, and left the house. Didn't even put on shoes. I drove, no destination, just movement. I ended up parked in front of a gas station, engine running, not remembering how I got there. That's where my brother found me. He'd seen my location shared, thank God I'd forgotten to turn that off. He slid into the passenger seat, looked at me, and said nothing for a full minute. Then, "You look like you saw a ghost." I laughed, but it sounded broken. I told him everything. All of it. Dumped it out like poison I needed to spit. His face went still. Rigid. "She really said you didn't matter?" he asked. I nodded. And he just stared out the windshield. Then what's left to save? That question stuck to my ribs. It wasn't even about divorce. It wasn't about revenge. It was about something deeper. How do you come back from being erased? I drove home that evening with a plan forming, not a clean exit like hers. Not a gentle fade. But I wasn't going to let her write the final sentence. She was going to answer for every moment she looked me in the face and lied. And I knew exactly where to begin. When I got back to the house, she was already dressed and sitting at the kitchen island, sipping coffee like a woman without a care in the world. Hair up in a loose bun, oversized sweater, phone in hand, her real phone this time, not the secret one. She didn't look up when I walked in. Didn't ask where I'd been all night. Didn't even flinch. I stood in the doorway and just watched her. For 30 silent seconds, I studied her. The way her foot tapped gently against the chair leg. The way she scrolled like her world wasn't burning down. Like I was just some minor inconvenience she could wait out. "I talked to your mother this morning," she said, finally looking up. "She wants to have dinner this week. Told her we'd let her know." I didn't answer. Her eyes flicked to me, sharper now. "Are we really going to do this? The silent, brooding thing? It's childish. You plan to leave me." She set her mug down and leaned forward slightly, resting her elbows on the counter. "No, I plan to transition. There's a difference. You talked about getting out, like this was prison." She tilted her head. "Oh, come on. You want to pretend this was some fairy tale?" I was suffocating. "In what? In loyalty? In monotony?" she snapped. "In predictability. In your obsessive routines and your safe little world. You were content and I was rotting." I stepped forward, slower now, placing her second phone on the counter. She didn't touch it. I read everything, every message, every hotel address, every stupid little nickname they called me behind my back. She didn't blink. "Then you know it all. So what do you want? An apology? Tears?" "No," I said. "I want honesty. Just once. She gave a bitter little smile. You can't handle honesty. Try me. She stood up. Fine. I stopped respecting you a long time ago. You never noticed because you were too busy being the good husband. Fixing things. Organizing weekends. Folding my laundry like a trained little helper. You were never a man I feared losing. You were convenience. Security. A placeholder. Her words hit like punches. Sharp. Precise. Surgical. And yet you still came home, I said quietly. Every night. Because it was easy, she snapped. Because you never questioned me. Never challenged me. You treated me like a queen and I got bored. I looked at her, really looked, and saw it all for what it was. The manipulation. The arrogance. The cruelty carefully painted with charm. She didn't want freedom. She wanted an audience. Someone to adore her while she destroyed them piece by piece. You know, I said, voice calm, it wasn't the cheating. It wasn't even the lies. She raised an eyebrow. It was how proud you were of it. Like it made you powerful. She smirked. Maybe it did. Then I dropped the folder on the counter. She frowned. What's that? Printouts, I said. Of your messages. Copies of everything on that phone. Conversations, dates, receipts. I've sent them to myself, my lawyer, and your HR department. Her face flickered. Just for a second. A flash of something, realization, maybe. You didn't, she said. I did, I replied. You want honesty? Here it is, I'm not your quiet, harmless shadow anymore. You built a separate life. Now you get to live in it. She went still. Chad might be interested to know he's not the only one. HR will definitely want to know that your relationship with the supervisor has been compromising policy for months. And Jay? Well, I've already reached out to his wife. The silence between us cracked like glass. She stepped back, lips parted. You're bluffing. I smiled, cold and steady. Am I? She grabbed the phone. Scrolled. Saw the email confirmations. The forwarded threads. The digital trail I'd left like breadcrumbs for every person she'd lied to. And for the first time since this started, she looked afraid. You just blew up everything, she whispered. No, I said. You did. I just turned the lights on. She stood there, cornered, breath shallow, calculating like she always did, but for once with no moves left to make. And I walked away. Not because I was done hurting, but because I was done being hurt. She didn't follow me that time. No yelling. No running after me barefoot. No melodramatic collapse to the floor. I walked out the door and left her standing there in the kitchen, surrounded by the ruins of her own performance. I half expected some desperate monologue. A pleading breakdown. But there was nothing. Just silence. The moment the door clicked behind me, I exhaled. Really exhaled. For the first time in hours. Maybe days. The cold air hit my face like a reset button. It wasn't peace, not yet, but it was movement. I got in my car and drove. Not away this time, but toward something. I had one more move to make. See what she didn't know. And what I hadn't planned until that morning. Was that Chad, her coworker and one of her precious someones, had a wife. ID found her through his social media. Basic digging. He posted a birthday tribute to her just last week. Called her his rock. The irony made me laugh until I nearly cracked a tooth. I messaged her from a burner account. Something discreet, respectful, with screenshots and a simple line. I'm sorry to be the one to show you this, but you deserve to know the truth. She read it within 10 minutes. The little scene icon popped up, and then she replied, Thank you. I've had suspicions for months. I didn't know it was her. I didn't want to know. And then, can we talk? So now I was pulling up to a small cafe, quiet, tucked into a side street. She was already inside when I arrived. Tall, well-dressed, hands wrapped around a coffee cup like she was trying to stay warm from the inside out. She looked like she hadn't slept either. I slid into the seat across from her. Neither of us said anything for a moment. There was no script for this. Just two people dragged into the same nightmare by the same selfish hands. I'm Amanda, she said finally. I nodded. I know who you are, she said gently. I saw the wedding pictures. You looked happy. The past tense hit harder than I expected. I said. I didn't know what was happening behind me. She nodded slowly. Neither did I. At least I didn't want to know. We talked, compared timelines, exchanged screenshots. The overlap was humiliating. The patterns were identical. The language she used, the manipulation. She'd told Amanda's husband the same things she told me. He doesn't see me, he doesn't challenge me, he's just comfortable. It was like watching a magician repeat a trick in front of a new crowd, same setup, same illusions, same grin at the end. She's been to our house, Amanda said quietly. Sat at my table. Complimented our decor. I served her wine. I said nothing. What could I say? She made me feel like I was the boring one, she added, voice shaking slightly. Like I was invisible. Meanwhile, she was God, she was memorizing our floor plan for secret meetups. There was a long pause, then Amanda looked me dead in the eye. She's not just cheating. She's collecting people. Feeding on them. Like they're all mirrors she stands in front of to see how desirable she still is. And just like that, I felt less crazy. Less alone. Amanda saw it too, the performance, the hunger, the total lack of remorse. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, Amanda said. But I know I won't pretend anymore. I nodded. Same. We left without hugs. Without promises. Just a quiet, mutual understanding between two strangers who'd both been rewritten out of their own lives. When I got home, she was gone. Not her stuff, just her. The second phone was missing too. But the house still smelled like her lotion. Her coat still hung by the door. A glass with lipstick on the rim sat in the sink like a mocking smile. She hadn't run. She was calculating. Waiting. Planning her next move. But this time, so was I. 3 days passed. No messages. No calls. No dramatic return with crocodile tears or fake clarity. The silence was worse than screaming. It was intentional. Her silence wasn't absence, it was a power move. She was waiting me out. She thought I'd unravel. That I'd chase. That I'd miss her enough to pretend none of it mattered. But I didn't move. I let the quiet wrap around me like armor. I changed the locks the morning after she left. Not because I thought she'd break in. She wasn't reckless. She was deliberate. No, I changed them because I wanted her to know that this time, she doesn't get to slither back in like nothing happened. I took her key off my ring, set it on the entry table, and left it there like a line in the sand. Then I called a lawyer. It wasn't even a dramatic conversation. I just walked into the office with a USB drive full of screenshots, receipts, timelines, and a list of names. The attorney flipped through it like he'd seen this movie before. And I guess he had. Just not with her in the lead role. You've got leverage, he said. Eyes not leaving the papers. Lots of it. Especially if you're serious about not letting this get swept under the rug. I was serious. That afternoon, I sent her an email. Short. Precise. Legal. You'll find attached the preliminary divorce notice. It is non-contested, but my legal counsel has advised that all relevant evidence be retained and filed accordingly. Please do not contact me directly. All communication will go through counsel from this point forward. No greeting. No signature. Just a full stop at the end of a sentence she never thought I'd write. She didn't respond. But 20 minutes later, I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't answer. Then another. Then a text, so that's how we're doing this now? You're embarrassing both of us. Still trying to control the narrative. Still trying to frame it like I was the one throwing dirt on our image. Another message, you're not thinking clearly. You're hurt. We can sit down and talk like adults. No need to burn everything down. Then one more, colder, you're making this harder than it needs to be. Let's not make this uglier than it has to get. There it was, the shift. From fake concern to veiled threat. I stared at the screen, pulse steady, and typed one line. Every lie has a shelf life. Yours expired. She never replied. But the next day, the real fallout began. I got a message from Amanda. Chad's been suspended pending investigation. They pulled his work emails. She's in trouble too, HR called her in this morning. Apparently this wasn't her first mess. Another domino. Then Jay's wife emailed me. Thank you for telling me. I didn't want to believe it, but now I see it. I've left with the kids. I won't let her cause more damage. Another. Piece by piece, the empire she built on charm, deception, and carefully timed smiles was crumbling. And she had no control over how fast it was collapsing. Because it wasn't just about cheating anymore. It was about exposure. Consequences. And that was the one thing she never planned for, being seen for who she really was. She wanted to rewrite me as the quiet, harmless husband in the background. The one she could walk away from without leaving a scratch. But she forgot one thing. Even shadows can turn around and face the light. She showed up unannounced on a Thursday evening. Didn't knock. Didn't call. Just appeared in front of my door like a bad memory that didn't know when to die. She had a tote bag slung over one shoulder and wore that same neutral expression she always used when she wanted to seem composed, like a news anchor reporting her own scandal. I opened the door, said nothing. She looked me up and down as if she was checking for weakness. Then casually, I need to talk. No, I said. You need to leave. But she didn't. She stepped forward like she still had the right. Like the front steps still belonged to her. I didn't move. Neither did she. Are you really going to be like this? She asked. We were married. I deserve at least a conversation. I stared at her. You had conversations. With Chad. With Jay. With the others. Why waste one on me now? Her jaw tightened. Then she said the most predictable, unbelievable thing possible. It wasn't personal. I actually laughed. You lied. You planned. You lived a full second life while sharing my bed and it wasn't personal? It was about me, she snapped, finally showing some color. I wasn't happy. I needed something different. Then you leave, I said. You don't build an entire cast of characters behind my back and stay in the house like it's a stage. She paused, then took a breath like she was about to rehearse her defense. I didn't think you'd ever find out. And there it was. The real truth. Not regret. Not guilt. Just frustration that her mask slipped too soon. I underestimated you, she said, as if it was a compliment. I didn't think you'd actually retaliate. I didn't retaliate, I said. I just told the truth. You should try it sometime. She looked around the house, like she was trying to anchor herself in a place she no longer belonged. Like she was expecting nostalgia to do the work of forgiveness. You think you're clean in all this? She said suddenly, sharp now. You think you're the victim? You were dull. Predictable. You stopped being exciting years ago. I took a step forward, close enough to see the panic flicker behind her bravado. I didn't marry you to be exciting. I married you to be real. But I guess that's too simple for someone who needs a different face to admire her every week. She blinked. I went on. You thought I was the placeholder. But you were the mask. The costume. Every version of you was tailored to whoever was looking at you. And now no one believes the performance. I'm still me, she hissed. No. You're pieces, I said. And I'm done collecting the broken ones. She didn't say anything for a long moment. Just stood there, shoulders rising and falling faster now. Then, in a lower voice, so this is it? I stepped back into the house, hand on the door. This was it a long time ago. You just didn't notice. Then I closed the door. Didn't slam it. Just closed it. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I didn't feel like the one left behind. I felt free. The next day, the silence wasn't oppressive anymore, it was earned. It was something I clawed my way to. There were no new texts from her. No emails. No passive-aggressive voicemails pretending to be civil. She had finally gone quiet, but not in peace. Her silence now was something different, strategic. She was retreating, not surrendering. Which meant one thing, she was preparing something. I wasn't afraid of her next move. I was curious. Later that afternoon, I got an email. From her lawyer. It was polite, formal, and filled with thinly veiled disappointment. It read like an attempt at damage control, likely coached by her. My client wishes to proceed with a mutual, low-conflict separation. She has expressed concern about the distribution of personal digital property and privacy surrounding sensitive materials. Translation: she's terrified about what you know and what you'll do with it. I forwarded it to my own attorney with a simple note: proceed as discussed. No mercy. My lawyer had already begun drafting a filing for misconduct. The evidence I provided, the second phone's contents, the workplace affairs, the multiple timelines, was damning enough to wreck not just the marriage, but her professional reputation. She'd tried to build a version of herself that no longer existed in reality. A polished mask made of lies and admiration for men who didn't know better. And now the mirror was shattered. Later that evening, I heard from Amanda again. The updates had become a quiet chain of victories. Chad's been terminated, not suspended. His wife filed as well. She's citing professional misconduct, same as you. Then a minute later, yours isn't the only case against her. There's another one. From a guy she dated before you. He reached out when your story started circling. Same pattern. Different decade. That stopped me. She had done this before. Not just once. She had a history of destruction. All those moments I'd spent blaming myself, wondering if I was too boring, too safe, too routine, they all evaporated. She hadn't outgrown me. She'd repeated me. This wasn't about me. This was about her design. Her ex, whoever he was, shared a story that hit with terrifying precision. She'd dated him for 2 years. Moved in. Made promises. Then cheated with a coworker, hid it for months, left one morning without warning. He never got closure. Just silence. A ghost version of a woman who had already rewritten the ending in her head. She was a pattern, not a person. I sat there in my now quiet house, looking around at the things we'd bought together, the paintings she picked, the vase from our trip to Seattle, the blanket she always stole off my side of the bed. None of it looked like her anymore. And it hit me then with strange clarity, I didn't miss her. I missed the idea of her. The version of her I had built in my mind. The faithful wife. The partner. The woman who laughed at my dumb jokes and squeezed my hand under the table at family dinners. That version never existed outside of my own projections. The real her was always beneath the surface, feeding off belief. She needed someone to reflect her back to herself as good, desirable, perfect. And when that mirror dulled, she shattered it, found another, and called it love. But mirrors don't love you back. They only show you who you are. And I wasn't her mirror anymore. I didn't hear from her for another week. Not directly, at least. She wasn't brave enough to face me now, not after the fallout began rippling through every corner of the life she'd built on lies. But that didn't stop the ripples from reaching me. One of her friends, one of the ones who used to call me the perfect husband at parties, sent me a message. I don't know what happened between you two, but she's a mess. She says you've smeared her. That you're trying to ruin her life. I didn't respond. The part of me that might have once wanted to defend her, to explain, to correct the story, he was gone. What was left was a man who knew exactly how much destruction one person could cause when given endless benefit of the doubt. But I did wonder what version of events she was spinning now. If I was the cold husband, the controller, the boring safe bet. She'd always been quick with stories, after all. Words were her favorite weapon. She could reframe a betrayal into a misunderstanding with a single breath and make you apologize for bleeding. But this time I had the receipts. And I wasn't the only one. Amanda messaged again. So did Jay's wife. And even one of her old exes, the man who had first warned me that this wasn't new behavior, kept the lines open. We had all been walking on different roads that led to the same cliff. She just never expected any of us to talk to each other. Her power was in isolation. Divide and manipulate. Make every victim think they were the only one and the fault was probably theirs. Now she was surrounded by people comparing notes. And suddenly she had no story that stuck. Then came the real moment, the moment I hadn't expected but somehow always knew would arrive. She showed up to my office. She didn't even ask to come up. She just waited by the lobby, arms crossed, expression tight. Security called me. I stared at the phone ringing and felt nothing. I told them to let her wait. After 10 minutes, she left. Later that night, she sent an email, "You're acting like I'm the villain in your little war story. Like you were perfect and I was the monster. But it wasn't black and white. You were absent. You made it easy to look elsewhere. I just wanted something real again. You stopped being that." There it was. The last gasp. The final deflection. Even now, after being caught, after watching her empire fold in on itself, she needed someone else to hold the blade. I didn't reply. I simply archived it, filed it alongside every other line she'd ever written that turned accountability into vapor. That weekend I cleared the house. Not of her stuff, most of that was already boxed. But of her echoes. Photos came down. Dishes she bought went in a donation box. I replaced the sheets. I repainted the bedroom. I took every corner she once claimed and made it mine again. Not as revenge. As reclamation. Because that's the part they never talk about. After betrayal, after devastation, there's this slow, aching return to yourself. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just steady. You reclaim your own name. Your own time. Your own mind. And in that silence, something honest grows. It isn't hope yet. But it's you. It's been 3 months now. The divorce is official. The paperwork signed, filed, and stamped like the end of a failed business partnership. Cold. Clinical. No apologies required. Just names untangled from contracts and property lines redrawn. I thought it would feel heavier, the end of a marriage. But it didn't. It felt clean. And the truth is, I didn't lose a wife. I lost an illusion. She didn't fight in court. Not really. After everything that came out, the messages, the HR reports, the testimonies, she didn't have room to maneuver. Her lawyer tried to posture once or twice, asking for more leniency, suggesting shared assets. Mine responded with timestamps and names. She folded fast. Her reputation? Scarred. Maybe not destroyed, not fully. People like her always find ways to rebrand, to slither into new circles and play the reinvented version of themselves. But the cracks are visible now. She can't charm her way into every room anymore. There are people who know who she is behind the mask. She moved out of state. Amanda told me. Quietly, without announcement. Started fresh, somewhere new. New job. New social media profile. Different city to feed off. That's her pattern, never roots, only resets. It wasn't escape, it was strategy. Because she only thrives where no one knows the last mess she made. But I didn't follow. Didn't check up. Didn't lurk. Because I'm done watching someone who was never really mine. And the part that still stuns me is how light I feel now. Lighter than I have in years. It's not happiness yet, it's something more important, clarity. I stopped wondering what I could have done differently. I stopped rewriting the story in my head to find the chapter where it went wrong. Because now I see it never started the way I thought it did. She was never really with me. Just next to me. Wearing my name like it was a designer coat she could toss when the weather changed. I've reconnected with people. Friends she kept at arm's length. Family she quietly dismissed. I've started cooking again, not to impress her or maintain some image, but because I like it. I sleep better. I don't second-guess my every decision. I don't wait for the phone to buzz with a lie. There are still moments when I remember something, some detail from a trip or a look she gave me once and my stomach turns. Not from pain, but from the realization that it was all part of the performance. A line rehearsed. A smile designed. But those moments don't own me anymore. And if you're reading this and you're where I was, drowning in confusion, making excuses for the inconsistencies, clinging to the version of them you want to believe in, I'll tell you what no one told me: if you have to keep convincing yourself that they love you. They don't. If you feel more like a mirror than a man, step away. And if the truth burns, let it. Because the truth might scar you, but lies, they erase you. So choose the fire. Walk through it. And on the other side, you'll find something honest. Something real. You.